Hello, it's me, Karina. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be breaking down the exact costs you need to start Amazon FBA. This video is going to be a little different because I'm going to give you two options. The first one is going to be the typical way that this business model is taught, also known as the high risk way. And then the second option is the low risk way, which is the way I teach it with a lower investment. I'm going to be breaking this down to the penny and everything you need to start this business so you have a great idea. So let's get into it. It's broken down into several different categories such as product investment, software investment, and then obviously launching your product to page one of Amazon. So first, let's start out with the product investment itself. Let's look at the low risk investment portion. There is the product cost and the shipping. Obviously, that is the component of a product. So I like to teach this business model in a way that's low risk, meaning you don't need to order a high minimum order quantity. So let's say we're starting with 200 units and you're gonna be able to launch this a lot easier. And it is possible to scale with starting with 200 units. Anyone that tells you you need $1,000 minimum just simply isn't true. Not dollars, I mean units. 1,000 units, it's not you. You can start with 200. So let's keep the price of the product at $7 and then the shipping of the product $3 per unit. So the total product cost of the actual product manufacturing would be $1,400, and then the shipping would be around $600, which means you will need to invest $2,000 into inventory alone just to have something to sell, okay? This is the low risk way. Now let's look at the high risk investment. I kept the product cost and the shipping cost exactly the same. So let's start with 1,000 units, which is what a lot of kind of people who teach this business model recommend. They recommend that you start out with 1,000 units. So let's say you order 1,000 units, and this is because people fear going out of stock, but honestly that is not really a big problem to have, going out of stock, because if your item is selling well, you will get back to selling well as long as you're not out of inventory for a very long time. So I think it's actually kind of unreasonable to be ordering that many high units. So let's say a person does order 1,000 units at $7 each plus the shipping for the product, keeping it consistent. That's going to be $7,000 plus $3,000, meaning you're going to need to invest $10,000 into inventory alone. That's a lot, okay? Let's go to, actually, I put this together, things to bring the cost down, which is great. I think the more we can kind of lower our risk, the more beneficial this will be for you, and the easier it will be for you to start this business model when you know that it's low risk and you don't actually have to invest a lot. So let's talk about some things to bring the cost down. The first one I mentioned is ordering a small MOQ. As you saw there, it took your cost from $10,000 down to $2,000, and you can test the market this way. So that's going to be very beneficial for you. The next one is, if you really are on a budget, you can find smaller products, meaning that more kind of intricate, detailed products that are larger in size obviously cost more money as opposed to something small. And if you really don't have much money to invest, you can specifically look for smaller products. Keep in mind, this will be limiting you to other products that are kind of around, but the good thing is you can kind of work with the budget you have and put certain parameters during your product research that will only show you kind of smaller and more affordable products, so you don't have to spend too much money up on inventory. Then lightweight products, the reason for this is that you can save a lot on shipping. You can obviously still do air shipping, which is typically more expensive, but if your product is small and also lightweight, because your product couldn't be small, for example, but if it's fully made out of steel or something heavy, the air freight, which is the air shipping, is going to be really expensive anyways. But if you find lightweight products, you can save money on air shipping. And then the fourth thing to bring the cost down is to do sea shipping, and especially if the product is heavy. Usually sea shipping costs are very inexpensive. However, if you do already have a small lightweight product, from personal experience, I have found that it's really better to just do air shipping. Not during this time right now because air shipping is quite expensive, but usually normal times when there's not a huge situation going out in the world, lightweight products kind of is the same range for air shipping and sea shipping. using my freight forwarders. I'm not sure about other people's forwarders, but for me that's been the case. So I just ship them by sea if they're small by air if they're small and light, just because they get there faster. So keep that in mind. Next, let's go to the launch investment. And yes, you do need this because that's how you get your product to page 1 of Amazon, and that's how sales actually begin to happen. You can't expect to just put your product on Amazon and hope for the best, right? So let's look at the launch investment. First, let's look at the high risk costs. Let me kind of try to minimize this down so it could shrink over. Okay, so if you are doing a high risk product and the revenue of that product is high, you might need to be doing full price giveaways, because in high risk markets, it's very difficult to rank with just pay-per-click ads, which is PPC alone. So you're gonna have to do giveaways, and Amazon no longer likes really heavy discounting giveaways. So you're gonna have to do full price giveaways, which means that's how you rank. So you're gonna give away 500 units, which is the full product cost that you already paid, which was $5,000. Remember earlier we said $10,000, so 500 units is $5,000, since 1,000 units was $10,000. But on top of that, you also have to pay for FBA fees. So you already paid a part of the launch strategy, which was the $5 earlier, or $5,000 earlier. So that's already taken care of. But now you have to absorb Amazon fees, which is typically 15% depending on the category of the price you put your product at. So if it's $100, Amazon takes $15 automatically. Plus a fee for shipping it, for Amazon shipping it and packing it. That's different than your shipping fee. And this really ranges on the weight and the dimensions of the product. I just put an average of $250 plus $7. So let's say you're adding on an extra $1,000 just in fees in order to try to rank your product to the top. And this is also not including how you're gonna do it, whether you're gonna use a type of service, which also charges money for their services, or if you know how to do Facebook ads, which obviously you still have to spend money to do that. That just really varies on the access you have to these softwares. Then let's talk about the low risk way, which is my favorite way, which is PPC costs. And you can actually get away with $200 to $500, and you can actually break even, so you won't lose money, because remember, every dollar you put into PPC, you hope to get money back. So that's why it's such a good thing. So you can start with anywhere from $200 to $500, but to break even, that would be great. Or you can actually make a profit in some cases once you start to optimize your PPC campaigns and everything, which is, I teach this low risk strategy in all of my content and all my courses, right? Okay, now there's actually some other investment, which are the fixed investments, such as softwares, things like that. So let's start. To have a professional Amazon account, that's $40 a month. Then there is a Helium 10 subscription, which is basically how to do your product research. It's absolutely necessary. You do keyword research, you analyze sales trends of products, you see their revenue. This is necessary. It's usually $100 a month, but if you use my coupon Karina50, you'll get 50% off the first month. And if you use Karina10, you'll get 10% off every single month. And if this is something that you are using, I do suggest using the coupon codes, because that really adds up. Then there is Feedback Whiz, which the lowest plan is $15, and you need this because it's gonna send out automatic emails to your customers, so you won't have to type them out yourself. Very automated, very easy, and that's how you get more reviews too. Then there's the Early Reviewers program, which I always tell my students and everyone else to join. It's $60 for Amazon to help you get your first 5 reviews. Also super helpful. And then there is the logo, which you can get for around $10 from a graphic designer off of Fiverr. And there's the product photos and images. And again, this falls into low risk and high risk. If you're a student of mine or in my course, then you know how I do these really cheap product photography hacks and graphic hacks, and you can really save a lot of money. So the low risk way, if you are one of my students, you know how to do this, $60 to $200, while if it's high risk, it's anywhere from $300 to $1,000 to hire a professional photographer and get your product photographed. But obviously the low risk way is the best way. And then package design, if your product requires it, could be around $30, again, someone talented off of Fiverr. That's also an expense. So let's look at this total breakdown. If you're doing it high risk, it actually comes out quite a lot. You would need around $12,000, and many people don't talk about this. They just throw around numbers like ordered 1,000 MOQ, things like that. But it really adds up because product is expensive, especially if your product is even more expensive than $7. Say it's $10, that's gonna increase by 30%. So that's crazy. But the low risk way, which is my favorite way, is only under $3,000, which is a huge difference than that. It's a way lower risk, right? And this is the way I 100% recommend it. And then also keep something else in mind is the inventory reorder based on product velocity. And this is kind of controlling your cash flow issues in advance. So let's talk about if you did it high risk. When you give away 500 of your units and actually start to hopefully begin to get organic sales, and plus keep in mind that high risk, you should also be doing PPC. So high risk, add like another $500 to this because you still will be running PPC campaigns in addition to your giveaways. But then you have to immediately reorder 1,000 units, which is another $10,000. So you have to have at least pretty much $22,000 up in cash to start it the high risk way, which is crazy. Because think about it, you gave away 500 of your units, then your 500 start to sell because you are starting to rank, hopefully if you did everything right and if you're actually ranking, which is still great, good problem to have if you're actually getting normal sales from customers. But then comes the thing where now your factory needs time to make the product has to come to you. If you're saving kind of time on shipping or trying to save money on shipping, you have to ship it overseas, and that takes an extra 30 to 45 days, or actually you can get it for like 22 days. So you have to immediately order another $10,000, which you would not have gotten yet because Amazon doesn't pay for another 2 weeks. Low risk way, you can order 200 units again. Again, that's only an extra $2,000, and you can order it more gradually as you start to see sales pick up. So you can just place another order. So that's like a way lower investment. Yeah, so honestly, the best way to do this is the low risk way, and to also, obviously, there's a lot of components in between all of this jargon and all these numbers, and that's why I really suggest my programs, because they really help you minimize the risks, and you know how to do it low risk as from the beginning of the education process all the way down to launching your product. And just that lower barrier of entry is going to keep people more motivated to actually start this, because $20,000 just isn't realistic, but something around $2,000 to $4,000 is more doable for people. And then you only have to spend more than $2,000 to reorder in units if you see your product actually taking off. So you have like a guarantee almost, right? So I do have 2 programs. There's the Into a Milli course, which is Amazon A to Z. It's $4.97, and then there's the PL Club for $7. You can do the trial, and then $37 a month, which teaches you perfectly how to do product research low risk, and I break down every single step. There's weekly uploads, you have product research validation, pretty much everything. You can check these out intoamilli.com or theplclub.com. It's also, everything's linked down below. I hope this kind of opens up to you, your mind, and that it's not super crazy and unrealistic to start, that you can do this successfully. I enjoyed making this video. Do subscribe and like if you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.